Today is a very important day we have all gathered here to celebrate our second online annual World Infertility Awareness Summit by International Federation of Fertility Society in partnership with Merck Foundation. And the event's moderator today is none other than me, Mercy Tyra Morengo. So to start us off is Dr. Edgar Mokanu, who is the president of International Federation of Fertility Societies, who will be giving us the keynote speech and introduction.
Thank you to Merck Foundation and its president, Dr. Rasha Kelej, and a pleasure also saying hello to Professor Oladapo Ashiru, the chairperson of Africa Reproductive Care Society. But I think I'd like to say thank you to all the other participants and colleagues of ours that have dedicated their time and adjusted their days to fit in this very important session. We initiated last year to ensure that the voice of the infertile is heard. The IFFS, I don't know if many of you know about it, the International Federation of Fertility Societies, is an umbrella for all the national fertility societies. And it has to stimulate research, disseminate education, and promote clinical care of patients in all aspects of reproductive and fertility medicine. And just to illustrate how important awareness is for us, is that our vision is that all women and men have access to quality fertility and reproductive health care. And I know that enormous efforts have taken place in Africa through the two organizations that I've already mentioned that have worked tirelessly to focus on the African continent so it could catch up and why not maybe do better than other countries that do care for infertile patients. The whole month is an important platform for all of us to work in our own corner in raising awareness for patients, raising awareness for our colleagues, raising awareness for the press, and we had a press conference the other day, and raising awareness for our politicians, the ones that have the power to decide, but also the financial means to help us help the patients. So I think the IFFS, just to give you an insight, is preparing a large campaign on the significant graphic changes that occur in society with a significant fall in replacement rate across the world. There's truly no country where the replacement rate is going up. This is the number of children that are born versus the number of that die. Of course, there are children being born and families have 3 or 4 children in different countries, but the replacement rate is falling constantly. So we have a campaign starting in our World Congress in Athens that will showcase this. And we'd like maybe today to ask that the African leaders and the African fertility societies will amplify this message, will take it and say, hey, what did you say? Can we use it? Can we put it in the press? Can we put it through our society? Can we discuss it with our patients? Can we bring the attention of our politicians? Because it's only then that could truly make a change together. So with that, I don't want to say too much. Of course, there's a lot of prominent people speaking here, but just to say that if there is a need for you to work with the IFFS, the door is open. Become a member society if you're not a member society. It's very simple. There's no onerous fees. It's $1 per each member. If you have 50 members, it's $50. If you don't have money, you go to Merck Foundation and say, we want to become a member society, give us $50 every year. Thank you so much, you know. But be in. If you're not in, how could you have a voice? How could you say how your problems are? We do not know at a global level what the individual country problems are. And also to invite you, if you want to attend at the IFFS Congress, which is a global congress, specific for lower middle income countries, 10th to the 13th of September 2023 in Athens. So with that, again, I encourage you to fully engage, and I'm delighted to be here and support this very important initiative. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Edgar. Thank you very much. I now call upon Senator Dr. Rasha Kelej, who is the CEO of Merck Foundation, President of Merck Foundation, More Than a Mother, and Chairperson of Africa Reproductive Care Society. Welcome, Dr. Rasha Kelej.
Thank you very much, Mercy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening for everyone. I would like to, of course, thank Dr. Edgar Makano, President of IFFS, Professor Olatobu Ashiro, the President of Africa Reproductive Care Society, and be one of the first African IVF expert, if not the first. And of course, all our esteemed guests and partners who are with us today. Today, we are for the second year, marking the World Fertility Awareness Month through our second online World Infertility Awareness Summit, WIAS, in partnership with IFFS and ARCS, Africa Reproductive Care Society, together with Merck Foundation. And this is very important and actually very helpful and very beneficial. Last year, when we've done our summit and was preceded by our press conference, like this year, there's a lot of media coverage happened to raise awareness about infertility, especially in Africa, since we had this press conference with our media representative from more than 50 countries in Africa. We've done this again this year, and we believe very much in the critical role that media plays to eradicate the stigma of infertility, empower infertile women and infertile couples through access to information and awareness and change of mindset. But of course, not only this, but also we are doing a very important step, and actually you can call it revolution, you can call it history in the making, you can call it transformation of fertility care in Africa. We provided more than 490 scholarships for African doctors from more than 39 countries, between 39 and 40, I'm not sure, but 39 as per 2 days ago, because this is increasing every day. For fertility specialty training, for embryology, for sexual and reproductive care. It's a 1-year diploma and 2-year master degree for sexual and reproductive care. So it's actually the impact of the graduates that we had seen and we measured. It's an amazing, to the extent that in many countries they started to advocate to establish the first IVF, public IVF. For example, I was last month in Burundi with Her Excellency, the First Lady of Burundi, who's also ambassador of More Than a Mother, a campaign to inaugurate the first public IVF in Burundi. It is frog leaping because you could have imagined that this could happen maybe after 20 years, but it just happened this year. So it's an amazing. But not only that, we also helped to train the staff of the first public IVF in Rwanda, and there's another one is going to be established by our trainees as well. We trained the staff of the first public IVF in Ethiopia, and the trainees as well now established already one in the private sector, and another one is going to be established this year. So it's amazing improvement of access to equitable and quality fertility care. In Niger, we had already trained the staff of the first public IVF in Niger. And many more will come, I'm sure, because when you have trained the first fertility specialist, the first embryologist in many countries, they never had before you started this activity or this capacity building program, they never had fertility specialists before. So the infertile couple, of course, they don't have access even to awareness, information, what to do, but also they don't have access to be treated with their local experts. If they have money, they can travel, and even this is not practical. When most of them, they don't have. So it was a great impact. We are happy with it, and we are going to continue. That's why I said the numbers will change per day. And we always sending either enrolling on the online or sending for clinical training. Every 3 months we sending to clinical training. This is about scientific education or medical education or clinical training, but also, as I said, we worked with more than 20 first ladies in African countries as ambassadors of More Than a Mother, and they are doing great awareness activities and awareness campaigns on their social media, on their media platforms, in the events they have with their public. So they are very enthusiastic. They are very understanding of the multitude of the issue. And it's not only a medical issue, it's also social issue, because if you are talking about average, 1 every 4 couples are infertile in Africa, it's 25% of the young people or the population on the productive age. They are suffering with this, with a scar, with stigma, with emotional distress, with pressure. Many of the women, as we know, suffer the emotional and physical and psychological violence because of the pressure of the society, because they don't understand it's not a normal condition. It can be treated like diabetes and hypertension. It is a stigma, and everyone blames a woman only for it. So the society fabric is scarred, and if we are not start to raise awareness, either through platforms like this, or through the social media, or through websites, or through media, or even children's storybooks like we did and we distributed on children in school, was called David's Story, where is also we transferred to animation and cartoon film, talking about how the infertility can affect men and women, how women and men should respect each other, whether they have children or not. It's improve and emphasize on the family values of love and respect. Things like that. It's very important because you help create a culture shift, and you don't wait until the children are older and already form their mindset, but you have to shape that since a young age. And this is very, very important. We also have things to improve and support girls' education, because when that girl educated, she also prevent or end the child marriage, or the child marriage is being controlled, and she has also access to information to know her rights, her sexual rights, her reproductive rights, and she can feel that she's a reproductive member in society. So if she doesn't have children anymore, it doesn't mean that it's the end of it, because she is more than a mother. She's an educated member in the society and reproductive member in society. So this is very important. We've done also a lot of things that try to improve the understanding of the community, encourage girls to continue their education, like Rescue Jacqueline and Ride into their future stories. So these things, and of course, as whoever follow Merck Foundation, you see, even we collaborated with artists and singers, and we done movies and films, and we had the Best Film Award, the Best Song Award, the Best Fashion Award, all to try to break the infertility stigma and messages about it, and raise awareness about male infertility, so it goes to the community at all levels. I don't want to be longer than this, because there is a lot of very esteemed partners and speakers. They have the opportunity to talk, but also I would like to welcome the Merck Foundation alumni and all the reproductive care specialists and IVF specialists that they are joining us online to listen to us. And I would like to encourage them to apply. Still, the closing date is not yet for the best research, Mars Merck Africa Research Summit. We have done in partnership with IFFS and ARCS to select the best research with regards to fertility care, IVF, and reproductive care research. So you can have the opportunity to have training and also to be attending the World Summit of IFFS this year. So this also, it's another activity or another program to encourage and support and build capacity in research with specific focus on women's health and reproductive care. Thank you very, very much. And thank you for all, and wish you a great time with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rasha Kelej. Very important insights there. Now, our next speaker is Professor Dr. Oladapo Ashiru, who is the Secretary General for International Federation of Fertility Societies and the President of African Reproductive Care Society, and also the President of the Nigerian Academy of Medicine Specialties. Welcome, Dr.
Thank you. Thank you, Amaya. And now, okay, let me just quickly share my slides. I have a few slides that I will want to share with you this talk. Let me talk about assisted reproductive technology in Africa, the problem and the challenges we faced. And it is not different from what has happened globally. And if you see here, these are some of the major events that have occurred globally in the history of IVF. Starting from 1969, when egg was first fertilized by Edwards and Babista. And you can see the story. By 1976, there was an ectopic pregnancy from IVF because of the work of Stepan and Edwards. And they were seriously vilified for this work. And that was when they put a ban on IVF, even in the United States. But they persevered, and I will tell you how. By 1978, there was now the first birth following IVF, and that was the grounds. And you could see that every country now quickly run on this rat race to join this, followed by Australia, then United States, and in Nigeria in 1984, we also had our first human pregnancy, which was a miscarriage. Then South Africa in 84, Egypt in 86, and then we had our first test tube baby in 1989. The previous one in 86 was by a staff who didn't want to talk about it. 1995 was Ghana, and then we had successful PGT in 2012. And in Ghana again, first African baby was using low-cost IVF. Now, these were the people who pioneered it. Howard Jones and Bob Edwards. He got a Nobel Prize from this, but this was the way he looked when he was younger. And also, just to tell you that the final road to success, they had to, from 1976, they did 102 IVF attempts before they could succeed. So today, and that is why in the 1970s, the pregnancy rate for IVF was about 10%, plus or minus. Today, the pregnancy rate for IVF has moved far, far higher than that. And we are now seeing people reporting 70%. Now, this was how they broke the news. It was a girl, and this was the clinic they used. And it was followed in America. And what happened is that I, at that time, was studying in the United States of America. So I asked for a Rockefeller grant from the United States, Rockefeller Foundation. They were not going to give me a grant to do IVF. They gave me a grant to do male fertility in Africa because there is overpopulation. And when I said to them, no, there's increased population, they said no. But luckily for me, the same equipment that I used was able to establish IVF successfully in the rat. This was published in Endocrinology in 1982. And then based on this, I collaborated with Professor Giwasagi on the human work. And this was in 1992 when we presented our work in the World Congress. This was Bob Edwards congratulating us and admitting us into the group of IVF. This was the baby. And based on this, we quickly had to form a society in order to connect with the world as what was going on. because there was nothing known about Africa. So we formed the African Fertility and Reproductive Health, which is the equivalent of the Nigerian Fertility Society. And we quickly joined IFFS. Later, we formed the African Fertility Society. And then we teamed up with Merck Foundation. At that time, it was Merck More Than a Mother, because they were preaching objectives that followed us. And lastly, African Reproductive Care. In summary, the journey in that, by the time you can see, I want to show you this. This was Louis Brown when he was celebrating his 70th birthday. Look at this container here. That was the test tube baby in which he was born. He was incubated. And Robert Edwards gave it to her as a present. I'll show you this to see how technology has improved. Now, I've told you about the development in Africa of the people who have been involved. And now this is the procedure that is now current. We now use this probe to reach the ovary and remove follicles. At the beginning, you have to open the abdomen. You have to use a probe, make 3 cuts in the abdomen to be able to extract the egg. And now compare that test tube baby to this type of laboratory we now have, this incubator. These are the development in IVF that we also now have in Africa that has helped the success in IVF. We also do trophectoderm palsy for pre-implantation genetic testing, and also we do gamete donation, testicular biopsy, and surrogacy. And these are the things that we do. It has not been easy journey, but it's been helpful because we have people who are able to help us. As I said, a few years ago, about 20 years or 30 years ago, if you want to do IVF, you hide, go to the clinic quietly. You don't want people to know that that is what you're doing. Now it is open, and people, especially men, because of the advancement of B.Sc, now know that we can treat them, and so they are now using access to fertility because they know they can be treated. So you see in the clinic, men are now following their husband to the clinic. I should not end this talk without telling you about the fact that there is a clear and present danger to infertility, and that is in the environment, reproductive toxicants. There are many, and I will just list also stress and bad eating habits. Now look at this. This is the coverings of the car. The pedals of those cars, they contain antimony, and some women, they drive barefooted because they don't want to of the high heel, and they absorb this antimony, which is embryotoxic. Large fish and stockfish has mercury, which also has been shown to be embryotoxic. So is often you don't wash rice too well. There are other toxins in the environment from pollution, refineries, industry, paint, pesticides, and fumigation. So you now know. And in conclusion, I have to tell you that Africa is alive. We are part of the cutting edge. We are especially grateful to Merck Foundation, who have helped to assist in developing IVF centers and also in training human capitals in this field. And more so, Dr. Senator Rasha Kelej, who have been my collaborator that I've teamed with since 2013 or 14 in this field. She has been wonderful, and she has helped to navigate Merck Foundation into this focus for Africa. And we are truly grateful for this. And the training of human capital in Africa is necessary. Just as we are meeting at the IVF monitoring team in Nigeria, we realized that there's still very few embryologists in the country, and they're going from one place to the other, and we need to train more. Luckily, we'll be establishing the Institute of Assisted Reproductive Technology, which are founded, and this will be helping to train embryologists in Africa in conjunction with the University of Lagos College of Medicine. This we should be hopefully having admission in the third quarter of the year. Government support is needed to help in getting insurance to cover IVF for people, Also, manufacturing of fertility drugs is needed. And of course, those in this field, they need networking, they need support to attend conferences like the IFFS World Congress, which occurs every 3 years. This year will be in September in Athens, and we invite everyone so you can see what goes on in other parts of the world. And also, Merck Foundation does the Merck similarly that brings us to this expert to network. I can now stop sharing my slides. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor. Indeed, history, that is history, and technology has really improved drastically. Thank you for that presentation. And now our next speaker is Dr. Claire Boothroyd, who is the president-elect of Aspire. Welcome, Doctor.
Hello, my name is Claire Boothroyd, and I am the president-elect of Aspire, the Asia Pacific Initiative on Reproduction. And I am delighted to share with you about where Aspire has been working and what we're planning and our future. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Aspire is committed to the support and educational development of health professionals and also patients in the Asia Pacific who have needs for care in reproductive health. We are a young society, but we are full of enthusiasm, and I think you will be impressed with how far we've come. We run annual congresses, a number of masterclasses, webinars, regional meetings, regular exchange sessions, and more recently have been starting to do some certificate courses. Let me take you through some of this. Our first Congress was in 2006, and for the first 10 years, these were biennial. Between the periods of 2014 and 2016, it was apparent that there was a great deal of enthusiasm and growth, and the board made the decision to run meetings annually from 2016. And these were sustained in attendance and growth over the ensuing 3 years prior to the pandemic. And by growth or genuine organic growth, what I mean is that there was enthusiasm from all countries of the Asia Pacific to attend Aspire, regardless of where it was. And the dependence of Aspire to run a successful meeting on the host country's fertility society was no longer there. Of course, we all were affected by the pandemic, and I'll take you through how we managed through that very shortly. But I'm excited, of course, that we're having our first post-pandemic face-to-face meeting in Adelaide in Australia later this year. We have run a number of successful masterclasses, and these are designed for small group learning. So their numbers are capped at around 100 to 120, and they address very practical clinical problems, often develop skill sets. And these are some of those that we have had over the years, including an embryo biopsy course in Beijing, IBM in Vietnam, male infertility covering freezing of small volumes of sperm, and so on. These have always been very popular and are very practical and needs-based. Our pre-Congress workshops, again, are also very practical, and we generally have 4 to 5 of these before each of our annual congresses. This is an example of the one that we are planning for Adelaide. You can see there's a mastering blastocyst biopsy, diagnosing endometriosis by ultrasound. So these are workshops for nursing staff, how to bring coordination to your clinic, and also management of early pregnancy. During the pandemic, we all had to adapt, and I'd like to acknowledge the wonderful leadership of our current president, T.C. Lee, who has steered Aspire's course through a virtual 3 years, and we have flourished in that space as well. We've had 2 virtual congresses, and these were both inspirational, educational, and very well attended. In addition to that, we've had a number of online sessions, including sometimes basic courses in, say, for instance, quality management, but at other times more high-level webinars looking at the latest literature in luteal phase support or in oocyte freezing. We have had also, and I'd like to thank the pharmaceutical companies that have supported us through the pandemic for the virtual meetings, and in particular we've started having educational meetings with translation into Chinese for our Chinese colleagues, and we've got a basic certificate course in counselling for nurses in Chinese happening later this year, and we're very excited about that. They've been very well received by our Chinese colleagues. A little bit more about our future activities later on. About 4 years ago, we established 6 special interest groups: male infertility, reproductive endocrinology, endometrium and implantation, reproductive surgery, embryology, and endometriosis. And these groups have been very enthusiastic and efficient and effective at guiding us in setting pre-congress courses, sessions in our main congress, and also in masterclasses. About 18 months ago, we introduced the special interest group for reproductive nurses, and about 2 weeks ago, the board approved the special interest group for counsellors. Throughout our short journey, we've had e-newsletters circulated, and this is our way of keeping the country reps, keeping all of the other members' countries up to date in their activities. And these are now beautifully edited and are available in the public domain on our website. In 2019, we were very proud to launch our own journal, Fertility and Reproduction, under the excellent editorial guidance of Professor Gab Kovacs and his team of reviewers. We're very proud of this. We have had 16 issues to date. It's an important platform, as we see it, for our researchers in the Asia Pacific, particularly those who have a non-English speaking background. And for them, writing in English and sharing their research in English is often challenging. And we have supportive editors to assist in allowing those people, those researchers, to showcase their work. And we are very proud of Fertility and Reproduction. I've mentioned that we are multidisciplinary, and we have somewhere between 1,300 and 2,000 members, crossing many disciplines of clinicians, embryologists, medical technicians, registered nurses, midwives, and counsellors. So where are we going? I've mentioned that we've got the new special interest group for counselling, because we all counsel in some ways. There are those who are dedicated counsellors, psychologists and social workers, but we all need skills in counselling, no matter what domain we work in. We next week have our 3rd regional meeting in Bengaluru in India, in conjunction with the PCOS Society of India. Our first regional meeting was in Pakistan and was face-to-face, and our second was in Bangladesh and was virtual. And these regional meetings are run with close interactions with the host country, looking to see what the needs of that country are, and the clinicians and nurses and doctors in those areas, because often they are low and medium resource settings and have different needs to some other parts of Asia Pacific. These have been enormously well supported and very successful. We are launching our new masterclasses again, and our first one in the post-pandemic phase is on endometriosis in New Zealand in February next year, looking to develop a consensus statements on the structure of care in endometriosis and building networks of expertise, particularly addressing ways of reducing the suffering and fertility preservation of those women who have endometriosis and their partners and families. As I speak, we have our first guideline in circulation for review, and this is for assisted reproductive technology laboratory practice in medium and low resource settings. We work within a very diverse area. There are many access gaps in the Asia Pacific region, and we felt that there was a need for establishing at least a benchmark of care in low and medium resource settings, and this has been very ably led by Harun Latif from Pakistan. The draft document is currently with the key opinion leaders and will be following their feedback amended and circulated to all members of Aspire, and we're hoping that we'll be able to launch that in Adelaide in September this year. I did mention that we have been running some certificate courses, usually online over a 6 to 8 week period, but we are now working on with another very able committee on a 3-year program certificate course in embryology, and we will be very proud of that. We believe it will be very important in facilitating a high standard of care throughout the Asia Pacific region. So I hope that I have shared successfully with you the short but I think illustrious history of Aspire, and I'm sure you'll agree that we have a very bright future ahead of us. Thank you very much for your attention.
Indeed, we have a very bright future ahead of us, Daktari. Thank you very much. That's Dr. Claire Boothroyd, who is the president-elect of Aspire. Now, I now welcome Dr. Maria, who is the president of Red Lara. Welcome, Dr. Maria.
Bonjour to all. It's a pleasure to participate in this very nice meeting. Thank you, IFFS and Merck Foundation for the opportunity to share this knowledge and this everything that happens in our Latin America. Red Lara's, I present you Red Lara's initiatives to build reproductive care in Latin America. Red Lara now represents more than 200 ART centers. And the philosophy is a wide and unrestricted dissemination of knowledge, open to innovations, open to share our expertise, our learning of ART. This is not a young society, a young group of centers. It always began with the Latin American registry since 1990, and Red Lara began as a Latin American network 5 years later. We have a very robust accreditation program since 1998. We have also, and everything was happening after the beginning of the society, then the accreditation program, then the certification. We now are proud of more than 760 professional certifications. Even the clinicians, director of clinics, clinicians that work in the clinics, again in the laboratories, the director of embryologist director, the embryologists, seniors and young. We have a continual education program online, that is PEC online and Red Lara en vivo. And we have an interest group of reproductive rights. And this B is Lara, our mascot that approximates us to the patients because she's very nice. Again, ART utilization in Latin America, this is the numbers of 2020 during the pandemic. And we know that we are 4 regions, Brazil and Mexico, isolated because are the countries where we perform more cycles. But although Brazil and Mexico are the countries that perform more cycles, Argentina, Uruguay, Panama, and Chile, they have the best number for initiated cycles per million inhabitants. This shows us that how they are building, how they are working on access, because we are a continent sometimes very different geographically and a little bit culturally, but the solutions we can learn from each other. As we are learning, I will let you know, as we are learning from Africa. Red Lara we have very frequently very common goals. We are developing countries, and ANARA, that is one of African register, they utilize our software from Red Lara, and this is strengthening our links, our experiences. This has been a very nice cooperation, and this is, as Fernando Zeger says, this South-South cooperations. I let you know some of our data in common. For example, look at this. We know that in Africa, the patients are younger. When they arrive at IVF, they are younger than our Latin America women. And this is very good for you. It's a very good opportunity to have the solution, to have a good result, because you see that our patients are 75% above 35 years old. So this was a very interesting data to us. Again, when we look at the number of embryos we are transferring, okay, you see that we in Latin America, we are arriving to a good solution not to have multiple births. And you see that in Africa, this is an information that you are paying attention to this. Okay, it's all over the world. Specialists say that it's important not to transfer many embryos, but we have to have the good labs, the good people, the good staff. Dr. Rasha told us that Merck Foundation and IFFS are working hard to give all of the countries, and they are helping Africa to build these good specialists and to these good labs. And yes, this is everything is linked, because when we look at our labs, at our work, and we believe in it, and we believe the condition is good, we can diminish the number of embryos we transfer. And again, we can see here that in Africa, like in Latin America, and I see all over the world, we are transferring more embryos that were previously frozen. And look again at Red Lara experience and our, I think Africa is diminishing the number of transferred embryos. And this is again a very important collaboration and the sharing of experience. And yes, my presentation will not be long, but yes, the initiatives to inform patients, to prepare them, to educate them is completely, I think it's one of the keys we have to work now. You see, this is an experience. It's a poster that was presented in April in our 16th General Congress of Red Lara. It was held in Medellin, Colombia, last 2 months ago, and this is a paper, something from our group here in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. We have a psychanalyst, a psychologist that works inside the clinic, and based on a Freudian concept of helplessness. She tells us in more than 1,000 patients that she has accompanied during the procedures. She tells us that, okay, we know that they need attention. There are many papers from Alice Domar, from Lancet, that shows that whenever they can arrive to a clinic, even though they can do the procedure, there is sometimes a big dropout of patients. And so what happens to these patients? It's this helplessness that goes unnoticed. And this happens to the patients. And this produces also something in the team. And whenever we pay attention to this, it's to understand that this difficulty of getting pregnant, this helplessness of the eye of the patients, ART can be a way to go. If they do an ART and we have the success, their life will change. Of course, we know, everyone here knows that infertility is a negative impact in life. An ART can be a way to go. This is an important key for us to pay attention. And I have been presenting something like this barrier access across Latin America in a Merck Academy last week in São Paulo, Brazil. And I have been comparing patients, and it's like even the WHO today says that infertility is everywhere. It doesn't mean we are if the patient is high income or low income, whenever infertility is present, it's an impact, it's a negative impact. And this paper was presented to me to Silke Dyer from South Africa. She sent it to me, very nice, because it is a Nordic experience. And it says that in Norway, urban patients and country patients, they have the access to the treatments, but their children are different, because their children, that they are more aware of the procedure, of the importance of paying attention also to these children. They are supposed to have a better life, better conditions of life. Very interesting. So again, we learn from south to south, from north to south. We learn from each other all the time. And again, I think everyone here will present something like this. It's important. Now the concept is societies, as Red Lara, ICMAT, IFFS, national societies, WHO, the industries, Merck Foundation. We have two ways to go. One is to work with the policymakers, for sure, to join them, to debate with them, to put pressure on them, because the problems are affordability, reproductive autonomy, and the other side, we have the ART centers and the specialists, that we doctors that talk to the people, our OBGYN specialists, that they see the patient before us. So if the ART centers, we pay attention to this effectiveness, safety, quality, but all of these should be directed to empower our patients. Yes, it's about constructing these little books for children, for patients, everything, every information that arrives to the patient will be a difference. And I'm Brazilian, and we have this proud of Paulo Freire, that was a pedagogue and sociologue that wrote about this of empowering, of informing patients. And this is true. We have to work hard on this. And of course, Red Lara is ready to help anyone to share opportunities, to share knowledge, to help forming embryologists, clinicians, psychologists, nurses. We are here and we are part of the same art of medicine. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Maria. And you know, one of the things that has stood out at the goals to look for is the attention that can produce an effect on subjects, on relationships, and on their destiny. Thank you very much for that, Dr. Maria. And just a reminder, if you have any question, just write it down, because we will have a question and answer session and you'll have all the time to ask the questions. And the next speaker is Dr. Kalibali Amadou, who's the president of Giraffe and a university lecturer of San Pedro in Cote d'Ivoire. He is also the Merck Foundation alumni. Welcome, Doctor.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm start to speak my presentation, and I want to tell you my all consideration for Dr. Kelej and another people. Now, for me, I prefer presentation my slide in French. The slide is in English, but I speak in French because it's better for me now. Okay. Now, l'initiative privée par les sociétés se concentrant sur les sujets sociaux pour accroître la sensibilité, la fertilité de la reproduction dans la sous-région sera présentée en anglais, mais nous parlerons en français. C'est pour cela que je voudrais, au nom du Giraffe, donc je disais donc que le groupe interafricain d'études, de recherche et d'application sur la fertilité a le plaisir et l'opportunité d'échanger avec les sociétés savantes de la fertilité, et cela organisé par la fondation Merck. Pour cela, il faudrait une implication des pouvoirs publics et de l'Organisation mondiale de la santé en collaboration dans ce domaine si précis. Alors, dans un premier temps, il est important de former des spécialistes dans le domaine de la clinique, de la gynécologie, de l'urologie, de l'andrologie, de la biologie, de la sociologie et de l'économie. Toutes ces spécialités sont importantes dans la mesure où elles vont s'impliquer dans les campagnes de communication pour réduire la stigmatisation des personnes vulnérables, notamment les femmes qui ont des problèmes de fertilité, aussi les hommes qui ont un potentiel d'infertilité et les couples qui sont à la recherche d'enfants. Alors, pour cela, il est important de mettre en place des mécanismes de financement pour les centres d'assistance médicale à la procréation qui vont prendre aussi en compte le contexte africain engagé dans une économie d'émergence. Et cela va imposer l'intégration de cette activité qui se trouve généralement dans le secteur public. Cela va nous amener à mettre en place des activités dans le secteur public qui existent avant dans le secteur privé. C'est pour ça qu'il faut une évaluation des performances de centres et qui vont permettre d'acquérir une compétence afin d'obtenir des résultats convenables. Je vais donc juste dire que l'intégration de ce contexte africain dans la région avec ces problèmes vont donc permettre de prendre en soin les personnes vulnérables. C'est donc ces différents aspects-là qui pourront être mis en place, qui vont chuter le coût de la fertilité dans la région africaine. C'est donc une présentation brève que je voulais faire, tout en vous remerciant pour votre attention. Merci. Thank you a lot.
Let's have Dr. Edem speak.
Yes. Dr. Edem is the president of the Fertility Society of Ghana. Welcome, Dr. Edem.
To give you a little overview of what the Fertility Society of Ghana has been doing since inception in September 2016 to improve awareness of fertility and reproductive care in general, and also to help break the stigma of infertility. This society is made up of reputable fertility centers, health experts, policy makers, as well as health and allied health professionals. And we're involved in the practice of human reproduction and embryology in Ghana with a mission of harnessing the role of all stakeholders in assisted reproductive techniques in Ghana. We organize academic symposia, training sessions, research and workshops, and conferences to build capacity and raise awareness about infertility and break the stigma of infertility in Ghana. We facilitate and encourage the highest standards of training and practice in the field of reproductive medicine. And we are also working hard on improvement access to quality and equitable healthcare services in the field of reproductive medicine. One important thing we realized was to allow the quality of care to be good. We needed to help with the provision of guidelines to practitioners that support the promulgation of laws governing assisted reproductive in Ghana. So we've been working feverishly with the Ministry of Health on this, and currently at the point of getting a bill passed in Parliament, hopefully by the end of this year, to control assisted reproduction. The activities we've done so far, in 2018, we had a public lecture on the controversies of assisted reproductive techniques, especially to do with donor and egg, and even the general notion of somebody doing assisted reproduction was considered bad by some people because they thought everything should be left to nature or God. So we involved the medical, psychologists, the social and religious bodies, and the legal people, and had a public debate on this. Since then, we've also participated in health media training for journalists. This was done in Ghana in 2019, and then also in Dubai with the Merck Foundation program in November 2022. In order to build capacity, the Fertility Society had an annual congress in 2019 with the International Federation of Fertility Societies, broadly on the topic of management of infertility and assisted reproduction. But this drew stakeholders from all across the country, including nurses, embryologists, and gynecologists and even general practitioners. And at this meeting, we discussed all the various tenets of infertility. And at that point, the decision was taken to start preparing to train reproductive endocrinology and infertility specialists in Ghana. So together with the support of the IFFS, we drew up a curriculum for this training program, and that has taken off already with the training of fertility specialists in both the public universities using the private fertility centers as the practical attachment periods. This is going on beautifully. We've gone on to do a similar thing, which has started off for the nurses. We are in current talks developing curriculum for fertility nurse training, and also the embryologists have also taken a few steps in that direction by first getting regulated by the Allied Health College, and then also start their training. Another aspect of our educational awareness is continuous TV and radio talks by FESOC members to raise awareness of infertility, and that to spread this message that with infertility, it is 50-50. Men are responsible for half of the cause of infertility, similarly with the women. And so men are coming out now more voluntarily. Sometimes a man even comes to start to initiate the process before their wife comes. We've also gone ahead to support the Merck Foundation in the launch of the book, Kofi's Story, which is a book with the fundamentals of infertility that could be used in the first cycle institutions, in schools, to start making boys and girls even aware of the fact that infertility could occur at some stage of life and the things to do to prevent it from happening. This will help to break the stigma that the infertile woman is the cause, leading to ostracization in society. We've also held another public lecture, and this was in lieu of our assisted reproduction regulations, but this time got all stakeholders, including the Christian Council, Muslim leaders, psychologists, the regulators within Ghana, as well as the parliamentarians. And this is all working out to spread the message that infertility is real and it's contributed to by both men and women, and it is cheaper to prevent it than to wait till it becomes major before you treat it. This is what Fertility Society of Ghana is doing, and would like to take this opportunity to thank the Merck Foundation for the support throughout the years, also the International Federation of Fertility Societies and the African Federation of Fertility Societies. These have all supported in enhancing our educational activities, and we hope that we will change the dynamics of infertility in Ghana in the next couple of years. Thank you for this opportunity to present our activities to the Merck Foundation and the African Care Society for the World Fertility Awareness Summit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Edem, who is the president of the Fertility Society of Ghana. I can see Ms. Ronki from Fruitful Vine Africa Patients Group. Welcome, Ms. Ronki. We've been waiting for you as well.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to thank the Merck Foundation and IFFS and also it's a pleasure for us to be presenting today. I'm just going to share with you what we've been doing in the last 12 months. We had the privilege of being here last year to speak and to learn from the various speakers from across the continent and across the world. And it was very informative of how we decided to progress after our meeting last year. So we're very thankful for technology and for the low cost of calls, videos, and communication in general. Our experience over the years has culminated and distilled for us some frequently asked questions by patients. And some of them are, who did you use? They want us to give referrals of practices, recommendations. How long were we trying for? Obviously, I am also a beneficiary of IVF for my 3 children, which I had after the age of 50. So I've become a focal point for patients across the continent. Because I've posted widely on social media to share my experience and to destigmatize the idea that infertility is something that should be kept hidden or should be kept private within the family. The more educated you are, the more open you are about infertility, the easier it is for you to get educated, for you to get pertinent information, for you to have the right referrals, and also to have the right support as you go on the journey. So we have questions like location, people coming in now from the Western world, from the US, from Europe, from Canada, to come into Africa because we have peculiar issues in Africa, and the risks that we face here of older patients are easier to understand with doctors from Africa. They understand that the families do not stop trying after a particular period. So the support and the understanding of that actually is bringing back a lot of Africans in the diaspora to come back home, to come and look into their fertility issues and see opportunities here that can help them progress on their journey. The cost, obviously, is another thing that we're seeing a lot of, and where people can find information, literature, where it's safe to use, what the recourses would be in case there are issues with your clinics and things like that. And what I can tell is that the medical questions are usually best answered by practitioners. However, there are a lot of social, economic, and emotional issues that cannot be addressed as adequately with professionals as it can with people who have had personal experiences, people who have had mature solutions to their fertility problems, and especially in areas where we can link people with people who have first-hand resources and they have worn the shoes that these people are wearing. Especially for Nigerians, we found out that the ability to deal with a spouse for a woman is a critical issue in whether a woman pursues this fertility option or not. So we're having to educate the women, and from our experience with the various people we've engaged with, we're helping them navigate the discussions they have and how they give out the information to their spouses in stages so that they don't get frightened and shut down completely. We have pulled together now a list of women who we don't have any men at the moment, who are on a platform that we've created on social media, on WhatsApp specifically. And these women have volunteered their time, some of them an hour a week, some more. So when we get intakes of women who approach us concerning their fertility journey, we're able to match these women with the women who have been on this journey, and they can reach out to them over a 20-minute period because we book slots in 20-minute periods. They educate them, they handhold them, and in some cases, some of them have gone to the clinics with women just to get them feel comfortable and ensure they're asking the right questions and they're being given the right answers. Concerning this now, we are in the process of developing a website and an app that has women and their brief histories and stories on the app. So anybody who is journeying into the fertility issue can go on this app and look for somebody who they feel the person's story resonates with them, that they can reach out to. It's free of charge on both ends because the volunteers we have are not charging anything, and the people who are approaching this system that we've put in place are not it doesn't cost them anything to come on board. So what we're doing now is trying to find the support to build complete the building of the app and also manage the app. So we're looking for funding for that so that we can build a robust community of people who have been on this journey, so that other people coming in on this journey across the continent can access these people who will handhold them, pass on information, and help them through the journey. So that's really where we are. So our most pressing needs right now are, one, to get some men to get on these platforms. We do not have any men at all, either on the advising side or on the side where they need information, and also to complete the building of this application so that we can put this out there for more women who need a bit more than the medical information that they're getting for. So I really want to thank IFFS and the Merck Foundation for all they have done, all they're doing, and all they will continue to do. And we thank you very much for the opportunity to present and for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rocky. Thank you for the great presentation. Now, our last speaker is Professor Jean Conry, who is the President of International Federation of Gynecology.
I'm Dr. Jean Conry. I'm President of the International Federation of Gynecology and Obstetrics. I'm so honored to be part of the annual World Infertility Awareness Summit, hosted by the International Federation of Fertility Societies, the Africa Reproductive Care Society, and in partnership with Merck Foundation. Let me go ahead and get my slideshow started. And this is a wonderful opportunity for all of us to share how much we are collaborating and working towards shared goals. I'm going to give a brief overview of FIGO, Global Fertility and Reproductive Care. I have no conflict of interest to declare. And I thought I'd start just very briefly by describing the FIGO strategic plan, because I always say if you plan for a decade, you can celebrate every 2 years as we go through changes with new officers, new trustees, and new council members, new committee members who bring an energy and a passion, but the strategic plan keeps us on that North Star. We created the strategic plan in 2021 with the goal of it lasting for more than a decade. It provides guidance for us on all of the different topics that FIGO takes part in. Our vision is that women of the world achieve the highest possible standards of physical, mental, reproductive, and sexual health and well-being throughout their lives. And I'm so delighted to be here with distinguished colleagues from around the globe who share a similar vision as FIGO. When FIGO developed our strategic plan, we highlighted 10 major commitments. And I want to focus on a couple that really pertain to what we're talking about today. We are here to encourage all efforts to empower women and girls and promote gender equality by maximizing our potential through education, health, and economic strategies. We also commit to ensuring sexual and reproductive health and rights by supporting provision of accessible, affordable, sustainable, and comprehensive health services. We are here to empower clinicians as leaders to promote scientific and policy dialogues in women's and girls' health and rights. We want to disseminate current evidence in the field of obstetrics and gynecology. So as you can see, all of these themes really are in keeping with reproductive care, reproductive awareness, and reproductive health. But I think the most important thing for FIGO is that when we developed our strategic plan, we also created a new alignment, one that took the division, it created a division of sexual and reproductive health and well-being. And we look at this as a continuum that focuses on a woman's needs and a woman's desires. So we placed along this continuum all the different aspects of sexual and reproductive health and well-being. Whether a woman is interested in contraception or conception. Does she need reproductive medicine, endocrinology, and infertility treatment? Or is she interested in undergoing a safe abortion? So it's a continuum, but the power here is a woman deciding what are her needs. We also realized as we developed these divisions, we have a number of committees and the divisions interact with the committees. Certainly, the Division of Sexual and Reproductive Health and Well-Being interacts with Well Women Healthcare to improve women's health along the entire continuum from adolescence through maturity. We know that menstrual disorders and related health impacts are one element to consider when we're looking at reproductive wellness. And then finally, women's cancer can have a severe impact on a woman's ability to conceive and her fertility status. So those are just how this division interacts with many of the other divisions that we have. And certainly once a woman conceives, we've got our entire division of maternal newborn health. As I said, we have a division of sexual and reproductive health and well-being. This division works to empower women to make conscious, healthy, and respectful choices about their sexuality, their relationships, their reproductive lives, including when, if, and how they wish to become pregnant. It organizes the committees that cover these topics, including contraception, long-acting contraception, including uterine devices, safe abortion, infertility care, fertility awareness, sexuality, and sexual dysfunction. We recognize that an adequate reproductive life includes adequate contraception, choice to become pregnant when desired, and the ability to decide whether to terminate a pregnancy. So the division aims to improve the health and well-being of women across their entire life course around the globe, and to enhance the status of all women, enabling them to realize their full potential of sexual and reproductive rights and personal well-being. Within this division, we have a committee on reproductive medicine, endocrinology, and infertility. With a 15% prevalence of subfertility globally, the FIGO Committee on Reproductive Medicine, Endocrinology, and Infertility addresses the important issues of infertility and sexual and reproductive health. The committee aims to spread worldwide awareness of infertility, preventive measures, targeted screening, and affordable, effective management. The focus is on low and middle income countries, and the committee is a group of clinicians, scientists, and embryologists from around the world who've been nominated to achieve this goal. The committee objectives are to enhance the knowledge and skill of clinicians and embryologists to improve fertility services around the world, to liaise with organizations, much like IFFS, to improve the prevention of infertility, to build evidence through targeted research on effective measures for prevention and the management of infertility, to build capacity, enhance skills of holistic care teams, including nurses, counselors, and technicians, and finally to build awareness of the prevention of and timely interventions for infertility around the world. Dr. Jaideep Malhotra is our committee chair, and she said the committee is an important global platform to bring together a group of like-minded, focused, and committed individuals. We're working together on devising and developing programs and initiatives to bring us closer to providing quality care to beneficiaries with education, skill enhancement, and cutting-edge technology. We need to empower couples to achieve their reproductive rights globally through awareness, access, and availability of this ever-evolving field of infertility and assisted reproductive technologies. The group has created a series of masterclasses. They call it a series for understanding the less understood. The masterclass series, organized by the Committee on Reproductive Medicine, Endocrinology, and Infertility, focuses on important and clinically challenging conditions encountered by gynecologists with the aim of improving viewers' understanding of these. And they try to bring the topic so that we understand how it impacts or how patients who are undergoing infertility treatment may end up needing to also address these issues. The masterclass series provides illustrative cases on topics like preterm labor, gestational chronic hypertension, luteal phase support and assisted reproductive technology, eclampsia, and recurrent pregnancy losses. So here's just the FIGO link that you can see, easy to link on the recordings of these with experts from around the world. And finally, our current initiatives are, number one, a collaboration with IFFS and ESHRA to make sure that we are sharing the same goals, same information, and really collaborating on major topics across the board. We've got a team of clinicians, again, with IFFS and FIGO, working on a fibroid toolbox. Everything from the history, the treatment, the information on fibroids, with a tutorial on how they are treated. This is an online resource that will be on the website. We also have a clinician, Dr. Philippe Decamp, who's leading endometriosis awareness with the new salivary testing, a simple salivary test that is being used by clinicians in selected parts of the world to diagnose endometriosis very early. And then finally, in our minimal access surgery group collaborating with our infertility group. We have a collaboration on pelvic pain with diagnosis, treatment, and other options. We've got a lot of work that's taking place within FIGO, a lot of energy, a very committed group. In June of this year, just a couple weeks away, we have a fertility preservation webinar, Thursday, the 15th of June. It's fertility preservation is upcoming area which needs a lot of awareness to be spread amongst healthcare professionals. Both oncologists and non-oncology indication need to be deliberated and debated, and so is the need to look into other logistics which vary depending on geographic location. The webinar is a collaboration between FIGO's Committee on Reproductive Medicine, Endocrinology and Infertility with our oncology group, our oncology committee. It will be in English with live interpretation in both French and Spanish. And here are the speakers. Dr. Jaideep Malhotra is our committee chair. She's going to be collaborating with Professor Wilalik in Thailand, who is our incoming chair for our FIGO Oncology Committee, Dr. Megan Wasson, who is our current chair for our FIGO Minimal Access Surgery, Dr. Samuel Ollander, Dr. Laurie Henry, and Dr. Isabelle Demistri of Belgium. So you can see a very diverse, very dynamic group of lecturers will be on this webinar. As I close, I want to remind you that FIGO's World Congress is this October 9th through 12th in Paris. Please join me in Paris. I thought I'd first put up this slide to show the World Association of Trainees in Obstetrics and Gynecology. We will be hosting the World Association of Trainees, WATA group, from October 4th to 9th in Paris with a One World Exchange, asking different member societies to contribute to the One World Exchange. And then WATOG members will join all of us from around the globe for the FIGO World Congress of Gynecology and Obstetrics from October 9th to 12th at the Paris Convention Center. You can email me directly and I can give you details, but you can certainly go to our FIGO website and just put in FIGO and click on all the information about our World Congress. It will be a fabulous event. I look forward to seeing each and every one of you there. Thank you so much.
And that marks the end of our presentation today. But now we are heading to our second session of questions and answers. And for the speakers who are in here, you're free to answer any question. But we also ask Professor Dr. Ashiro to drive this session. Now, on questions and answers session, I can see there's some questions that are up here. Maybe we can just start. There is a concern here. And this one is saying, my concern as a trained embryologist and Merck alumni, it bothers me for a fact that I can attend a full training and upon my return to my home country, we don't have facility for us to practice what we've learned. Since my return in 2019 to Liberia, I have been practicing with few trained fertility specialists as an andrologist to provide basic care and performed IUI. Our government needs to step up and help Merck Foundation as they are empowering us as health practitioners. That's a great concern from Anonymous. And then we also have a question here about Ramata Kamara. Ramata Kamara is asking, hello, I, Dr. Ramata Kamara from Republic of Guinea, former alumna of Merck Foundation. I'd like to know if I can register with an Asian Reproductive Society and how. Okay, Dr. Shiro.
Yeah, well, those are very good questions. To the attendee from Liberia, it's not bad when you are starting with IUI and you are starting basic care. Some of us, when we started this, were doing IUI too. And gradually, you will be able to build up to have enough funds to be able to assemble a microscope and an incubator. And you know, when you look at the fact that the tools that were used by Steptoe and Edwards when they started, they were very, very crude. in today's day and age. So if you're thinking of setting your IVF and you are going to do an highfalutin one, it may take you a long time, but you can get an incubator. When we started in Luz, we just used basic water-jacketed incubator. And you can do that. Your success rate may not be that high, but you can get it. And eventually, you might be able to now have support and get local funding. You may also have to think outside the government and look at institutions that foundations that can support you in Liberia, people who are ready to contribute to it. Now, in terms of the other questions, there are fertility societies in Asia that you can join, and I'm going to type my email into the website so that if you send your email to me, I can link you up with somebody in Asia, and also I can get you into that society. I can tell you how you can do that. Text my email there so you can reach me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Ashiro. I don't know if anyone has a question, kindly just raise up your hand, or better still, you can use the question and answer chat box. We will read your questions. But now I also have a question, Professor. How do we make the world a better place from stigma and discrimination, especially where traditions and belief is the order of the day?
Very good question too. The most important way of doing this is information. We have to continue to pass the information out there that infertility is not a myth. And also that especially the causes of infertility, the information needs to be out there that infertility is not associated, it does not mean impotence. And that is what has prevented men from coming to the clinic, because they think that if they are infertile, they are not able to get their wife pregnant, it means that they are impotent. And that is something that men consider as a very strong ego downer. So it may just be that if you come in, there are some infection in the sperm, it can be treated, or that is low sperm, you can have your baby through IUI, which somebody in Liberia can do. Or if the sperms are really low, it can be ICSI. You can go to another center where there is ICSI and you can be helped. So that is one thing. The other thing is that infertility is not necessarily and only due to sugar blockage. There are other things that causes infertility: environmental toxins, endocrine disruptors, fibroid. Those things are things that has happened from without the patient knowing, and therefore it's just like what causes hypertension. Maybe you are eating too much. So these are things that must be given out there to give the prevention to infertility and to make it more acceptable. That is just like having hypertension or diabetes or whatever. But we know that there is a problem in Africa about even revealing whatever disease they have, unlike the rest of the world. So we still need to do a lot of work on this, that if you own up to what you have, you may receive help in the next door. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ronia Gerardo is asking, how do we deal with art stigma in the context of religious beliefs?
A good question. Religious beliefs is an issue that has created a lot of problems for infertility practitioners. But gradually, with good counseling and information, you may be able to get this done. Because even now in the Islamic world, some of the malams or the ulamas, they can give you consent to go through even some most radical treatment of infertility, like surrogacy, but some still resist it. And the Catholic Church now, a number of Catholics now practice, they find it easy to access IVF. So it is something that will occur gradually with more education and with more information, knowing that there's nothing in this world that we're doing in this field of assisted reproductive technology which has not been permitted by the Almighty. If the Almighty did not want this to happen, it will not happen. And you know that the Almighty himself is the omniscience and omnipotent. He is the headmaster of medicine. So he has permitted us to and enabled us to use this technique. If it didn't, it won't happen. And that is what I tell many people who come to me talking about religion in the world. And you find out that people who bring that religion, they are hiding some things, especially the men, saying that they are not going to do it. But if you now know that, if you now tell them that you can help them, they accept the practice. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. And then now Alphonse is asking, we see your commitment of giving life. What are your views on women taking lives? I want to talk about abortions.
Well, I don't, most of the World Fertility Society and most practitioners in the field of medicine, they believe that a woman has the right to make a choice on her health. In other words, just as some women can opt not to have children because they don't want it, and we know that in this creation, womanhood is greater than motherhood. That is, the woman of creation, they have a greater role in spiritual content than motherhood. And there are many women who have achieved a lot in this world before they departed. And look at Mother Teresa. They did a lot and they are known for what they have done and contributed, not by the number of children they've had. The same way, so is their choice. And also, in terms of a woman that wants to terminate a pregnancy, it has to be her choice to do so if there are problems that she has come to realization that based on this, I have to do it. And most of the world societies in medicine and fertility, we believe that a woman has the access to free choice and you can't prevent her from doing it. After due counseling. Thank you. Supposing it was a rape conception, what will you do? Or supposing the woman's health can be in danger by still that pregnancy, what do you do? So these are areas that you need consideration and let the woman make a choice. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. And then there is also a question from Tina Davies. How does the Federation assess couples in relation to welfare of the child?
The only way you can help couples in terms of welfare of the child is education and assessment. That is why, for example, in Nigeria, the society, the Association of Fertility and Reproductive Health Association of Nigeria, we have made a limit to where you can have a baby to about 55, I believe. And that is because you have to be able to look after that baby. And unless you have the means and you're able to make some foundation or trust for that child that is born. So these are things that you have to look at and educate. Other than that, you can't do more in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. There are some hands that are up. Le Kaplawele, go ahead.
I'm watching from the UK, and I was a fertility CNS in the UK. So that's why I asked the question in regards to welfare of the child, and also how does the Federation, especially in Africa, looking at the challenges in terms of ethical and cultural, how do they assess or support in relation to surrogacy or embryo freezing?
Well, a good question. The Federation here, right now, we're able to do embryo freezing. We even do oocyte freezing in terms of fertility preservation. Just about 2 weeks ago, I have to preserve the fertility for a 12-year-old boy who has Burkitt's lymphoma. So we had to preserve the spermatic tissue, do tissue biopsy of the testes and freeze it. And also, we have women who are now not yet married and they are approaching 40. And because of the information we put out there that as you get to 40 and over, the egg is going to decrease, your fertility is going to decrease. So many women are now coming forward to freeze their egg before they even have a partner. And so that option is there. And we also freeze embryos so that a couple that goes through IVF treatment, that is also to save the cost. We freeze the embryo in terms of, so that they can have, we have patients who have 3 babies from one IVF cycle, but the babies are now spaced 1.5 years separate. And we also freeze it in terms of patients who might hyperstimulate or to prevent them from going into hyperstimulation, which is an ethical reason. Lastly, in Nigeria, we have reached an advanced stage in terms of regulation. And this is going on in many fertility societies in Africa, which we have helped to facilitate to have an assisted reproductive regulation. And this regulation has been passed to the House of Assembly or the Senate, and they've gone through first and second reading, and in some cases third reading, and hopefully should be coming into legislation very soon. What is important is that the legislators, they were informed to get the input of the professionals when they are drawing this regulation, so that it will meet global standard. So all our ethical issues and cultural issues are factored in terms of global standard and in terms of what happens in the environment. I'll give you one example. Globally, in the developed countries, they said that we should do single embryo transfer. But we in Africa, we have not reached that stage across the board for all of us that we can do single embryo transfer. So we are recommending that centers should do double embryo transfer, so you don't have multiple gestation that can affect the life of the mother or the baby. If the embryo split into 2 and you're having quadruplex or triplet. And if you are in an advanced center and you are sure of your work, you can then proceed to single embryo transfer, which is selective embryo transfer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. Nicole Maturure, you can go ahead and ask your question. Nicole Maturure.
Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Jacqueline Bakisololo from Democratic Republic of Congo. I'm currently in India. I don't know if my voice can reach everybody there.
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I would like to thank, first of all, to thank everybody, the professor, Dr. The president of CEO of our Merck Foundation, and all the professors that had the speech in this summit. It's a very important summit for us. As I'm now in India, in IVF, India IVF Academy, where I've been trained for infertility. And I found this very, very helpful because when I go back in my country, I think we need to do this awareness of the population regarding the infertility, especially the male infertility, because when you see a couple, an infertile couple coming in your office, generally the male do not admit that he can be infertile, so only the woman is incriminated. So this, we have to do it first of all, even before the couple come to the hospital, so that they can be aware that not only the woman is interested in this, but both male and woman must be treated together at the same time. So, and my suggestion or my request will be that the government and the Merck Foundation would help how we can do this in our countries. Another request is about the training, because we have been trained for infertility, but we need more practice in hysteroscopy and laparoscopy. And this can be done even in Africa, in our countries, because there are some trolleys, some tools, instruments, laparoscopy instruments in our countries. And if we can have people that can come and train us in the country, because those technologies are still new. Only few people can do this. And we all know that to do the infertility, good infertility, we must also have good practice in hysteroscopy and laparoscopy. So this is really my request. So I say thank you to Senator Rasha for this opportunity to give us the opportunity to have the training, for all he's doing, for this knowledge we are gaining for the help of her, and for all our governments who are supporting us, for all around the world, everybody who is interested in helping the woman, because the woman is the center of all developments of all the world. But when the woman, the quality of life is deteriorated because he gets into depression, because he's marginalized, because she doesn't have children, because everybody leave her. This is very, very worse, the worst thing that a woman can get into her life. So by taking care of this woman is the most thing that we can do. So thank you to you all who are doing everything. So if I can add something in French, je dirais grand merci au sénateur, à Madame Rasha pour cette initiative qu'elle a eue d'entretenir de nombreuses formations, aussi de prendre en charge des bourses pour l'enseignement des pays, des étudiants ou des médecins qui viennent des pays en développement, des pays du Sud, si je peux les appeler ainsi. Merci beaucoup à tous les membres de Merck Foundation et pour tous ceux qui travaillent en collaboration avec le même FIGO et toutes les autres associations à travers le monde qui travaillent en collaboration pour aider la femme, parce que c'est plus la femme qui est la plus faible, la plus vulnérable, mais aussi pour tous ces couples qui sont concernés par l'infertilité. Merci beaucoup, merci vraiment à vous tous et à tous nos gouvernements qui nous supportent aussi, qui continuent comme ça, parce que c'est ça en fait, c'est l'éducation qui compte, c'est ça le développement et c'est pas ailleurs. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Thank you for the interest of time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you for the comment. We appreciate it. Thank you. Can we ask other people to, before we ask other questions, she did mention a comment about training, especially laparoscopy and hysteroscopy. I have Dr. Maria from Red Lara who spoke about training, and also Professor Jean Connery who spoke about training. Perhaps you have any comment to chip in on whether your training facilities are accessible to people in Africa? Thank you.
Yes, I could tell you something that, for example, in last April, in Medellin, Colombia, we had during the Red Letter Congress 7 hands-on with no cost to people, to the attendees, and in laparoscopy, in stereoscopy, and vitrification, biopsy, and something else that I cannot remember, but were 7. So there were boxes to train, but it's good because when many specialists together, indicating what to do, checking the procedures. So this is how we begin, because I understand the colleague that tells, well, I learned I know what to do, but I don't know how to do. So this is the beginning with boxes, and then we can change. This is an opportunity. I think we should talk about and discuss how we in Red Letter could help you and how you could help us too, because for sure there are experiences that we share.
Thank you very much. Very important. So people who want that can access next conference of Red Letter. It's available in the internet. How about Professor Jean Connery for FIGO? And while we wait for our next question.
Yeah, for the interest of time, we'll just ask 2 more questions. I see Augustine is talking about, his question is geared towards how the IFFS can help to mitigate the high cost of IVF in Southern Sahara. He says some places fee are between $6,000 to $10,000. Imagine the economy of Southern Sahara, Africa. Hence, many women might not have the chance to be able to breastfeed a child of their own. So basically, he's asking about the cost.
Yes, this is a major question that keeps coming, and it came also at the press conference. IFFS is not going to be able to help in the cost, neither can Merck Foundation. In terms of the cost, it has to be the responsibility of that African country to help. The only way I see that happening is they should enable insurance companies to cover treatment for IVF, as they've done in other countries. Number 2, they should ensure that those pharmaceutical companies are able to produce and manufacture those drugs that we use in stimulation and some of those things in that country, in that locality. That has happened in India, and so the cost of IVF is reasonably low, and it has happened in Egypt and probably in South Africa. So we African countries need to see how our government can ensure that those companies begin to manufacture in at least if they set it in regional, one in the sub-Saharan, one in the East Africa, then hopefully things will get better.
Okay, Claudia Kivangwa.
Okay, bonjour.
We can hear you, Claudia.
Hello?
Yes,
Good morning.
We can hear you.
Good morning.
Hello?
Claudia,
Hello?
we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
Vous m'écoutez?
Go ahead.
Ah, ok, merci. Ok, merci beaucoup. Je remercie d'abord tous les intervenants pour tout ce qu'ils ont brossé à propos de la santé et la reproduction. Et je remercie aussi la Fondation Merck qui souvent nous met toujours à jour par rapport à toutes les avancées. Mais je me souviens en 2020 ou 2021, si ma mémoire est encore fidèle, il y a eu une équipe de Merck ici à Kinshasa. J'ai oublié de me présenter. Je suis Claude Kivangwa de la République démocratique du Congo, plus précisément à Kinshasa. Donc en 2020 ou 2021, il y a eu quelques membres de la Fondation Merck qui étaient venus chez nous à Kinshasa. On a tenu même une réunion avec eux à propos de la fécondation in vitro. Mais à un moment donné, On a vu cette équipe disparaître et sans suite. Raison pour laquelle nous continuons à s'y gérer par rapport à ces problèmes de santé de la reproduction chez nous au Congo qui posent beaucoup de problèmes. Qu'est-ce que la Fondation peut penser à nous aussi? Parce que nous voulons bien, étant membre de la Fondation, mais étant aussi un agent de notre État, dans les départements de santé, essayer d'apporter aussi une main forte à nos malades et à notre population qui ont toujours ces problèmes de santé de la reproduction. Parce que chez nous, ici, il y en a assez, mais malheureusement, ce n'est pas documenté. Il n'y a pas de structure propre pour les prendre en charge et puis ils ne sont pas suivis. Mais nous continuons toujours à faire cette plaidoirie. Qu'est-ce que la Fondation, est-ce que la Fondation peut penser à nous, voire par toute l'équipe aussi, à nous faire encore des formations même par ligne pour nous aider aussi à être à la hauteur de répondre à tout problème qui peut survenir à tout moment concernant la santé de la reproduction. J'ai dit, je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. We'll pass that down to Merck Foundation. Venue is here. I'm sure this will be done, and maybe in the next seminary where we have courses, people will be invited from there. Also, somebody is asking, and I will ask Venue to speak briefly. Somebody is asking about their countries running IVF in public hospitals. Yes, there are countries running it. There is one in Uganda, and we have public IVF in Nigeria in about 2 centers now, or in fact 3. So the experience is that the cost is relatively low compared to what it is in the private sector, because the overhead is taken care of. So that's the experience. Benny, do you have any comment about what Merck Foundation can do?
So you're referring to the training programs, right?
Yes.
So the training programs, those who are interested, they can write to us directly at, I will share my email address here, and we will guide them on the process of how they can submit the application. And we will submit it to the scientific committee, and it will be reviewed, and the medical team will get back to them as early as possible.
Thank you very much. Next question.
Professor, for the interest of time, maybe we should just end it there.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think we have had a very good session. I must thank the speakers, starting with Dr. Edgar Mukano, the president of IFFS, International Federation of Fertility Society, followed by, for that excellent introduction, and their ready cooperation with IFFS and Merck Foundation and African Reproductive Care Society. African Reproductive Care Society is an umbrella that takes over, that looks after reproductive care in Africa. Interest group from doctors, embryologists, nurses, journalists, and health care and patients who have interest in this are welcome to join this society. And it's an umbrella advocacy group in terms of infertility. As somebody was asking, the cost of IVF, in fact, the cheapest cost of IVF is prevention, to educate people so that they can prevent a tubal blockage or prevent things that can cause low sperm. So if you do that, then you should be able to have your conception normally, because infertility is preventable. And I think, and that was what we spoke about some of the endocrine causes of, environmental causes of infertility that needs to be aware of in the air, in the diet, even things to put on our body. Especially, it's known that a woman will use about 1 ton of lipstick in her lifetime. So some of those things, you have to check the label to make sure that you don't have problems, or soap or creams. Some of them have problems on them. I thank Dr. Maria Bicamo from Red Dara. She has given us a lot about, and she's focused on something that is very important: patient helplessness and the team. Because IVF is not always successful, and you have to meet these patients who have failed IVF, and when that occurs, it's not just the patient that has failed, the team, they have failed, and everybody is not happy, and you have to manage it. And this is something that is very, very psychologically tasking for the practitioners and for the patients. And some of them, they have to sell their car or their house to come to IVF, and it doesn't work. How do you manage it? So these are things that, and that is why I'm happy as the president of Giraffe, also Dr. Calibro and Dr. Edem from Ghana talked about regulation and training. Training is the focus. We have to train our staff. So does Red Lara and Aspire do. They have training for a different level. Professor Claire Deltrop spoke very well about the training they do in Aspire and certification. This is very important so that the team that is working are highly trained and highly skilled, and therefore it will lead to better success, and also the patient could be confident of what they are having. So they in Ghana are even training nurses and fertility specialists. And one thing that Ms. Ronke spoke about, which is important, that the patient awareness. There are a lot of patient facility groups now that are important in facilitating this process. And they even have a patient app that they can use to help to identify patients that may have different needs, and hopefully somebody can support them. And I think that Ms. Onodeko should put her email on the platform, so in case people want to contact her for different support. Lastly, Professor Dean Connery talked about endometriosis and awareness, what patients are doing. So altogether, we've had a very powerful session ranging from the history, evolution, to the cutting edge, and the help that are being made and initiatives that are global in participation. This indeed is a very, very global participation. It's a world summit. We can see what is going on across the world, and we're all doing the same. I thank the speakers for coming, and I also thank the participants who have listened. At one point, we were almost 300 participants, and people have stayed up to now. I thank you for coming and participating, and we look forward to seeing all of you again at the 3rd Annual Fertility Summit. It's a world summit between Merck Foundation, the International Federation of Fertility Society, and the African Reproductive Care Society. And luckily, we now have Aspire, which is the Asian Pacific Reproductive Society, and Red Lara from the South America participating. So we are meeting together as a group. Thank you all, and have a good afternoon, or a good morning, or good night, depending on which part of the world you are. I will thank Merck Foundation and Dr. Rasha Kelej and her team, Benunia and the rest for supporting this program. I see Dr. Shaba, Dr. Kingsley, all of you, you've been very helpful and wonderful. Thank you all for,
Thank you very much, Professor. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to an end of our summit today. For me, I'll just end up with a quote from Audrey Hepburn: "Nothing is impossible. The word itself says, I'm possible." Back to you, Venu. Thank you.